What up this evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all around the world? How you doing tonight? What's happening? Everything is good on this end. We running good, feeling good, eating good, talking hoops. And we got a difficult subject to tackle tonight. And I know it's difficult for a lot of you guys. That's why you don't want to talk about it. And I understand why. And that subject is moving on. That subject is moving on. You know what it is when you've reached that time, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's at a job, whether it's at a place where you live, when you reach that time where this is about as good as it gets and it's time to move on. There is no benefit here. There's no reason for me to stay here. There's no reason for you to stay here. Everything that needed to be done has already been done here. So there's no reason to stay, right? So with that being said, teams don't do that because some of them have incentive. And what I mean when I say incentive, basketball is business. I want to make sure that we're clear on that, right? Basketball is business more than anything. And in the business of basketball, right? In the business of basketball, we have to make money. We got to be able to do that, right? So in the process of us doing that, we have to hold on to our assets for as long as we possibly can, because otherwise, what are we doing here? But the smart teams, right? The smart teams, the good teams, they retool. They get rid of guys when they're supposed to. They move on from guys when it's time to. There's no reason to hold on to them because this isn't beneficial for both of us any longer. Right? This isn't beneficial for both of us any longer. Prime example. Philly holding on to Doc for as long as they held on to him. If we being honest, Doc was over a long time ago. Right? I caught up with Doc. I mean, time caught up with Doc, but out of courtesy, right? Out of just being professional, right? At a courtesy and out of being professional, they didn't want to just throw Doc away, considering Doc had been there since '76. He had been there for all of those years, all of those finals years. Instead of it being business and just moving on from him, because that's what this is. At the end of the day, I just work here. If I'm being honest with you, I just work here. And I do care about you as an employee. I do value you as an employee until you can no longer do anything for me. Should the Lakers had moved on from Bryant? Probably. They probably saying that they're probably, even though he's not around anymore, it would have, when he started to break down, it probably would have been best if we still wanted to win to move on from him. Right? To move on from him. So with that being said, it was beneficial for them financially. But if you wanted to win, you still had to hold on to him, right? Peace, God. You had to move. You had to hold on to him. And let me address something really quickly. Chill. Let me address this right here. I'm sorry. I'll get right back with you. Chill. I just caught up with the panel, and Drew Brees was mentioned that he wasn't as good in his later years, 40s, and you mentioned Tom Brady throwing for 4,500 yards well into his 40s. Okay, I did say that. Sure. Wouldn't that insinuate that Tom Brady had a better arm than Drew Brees? No, it doesn't insinuate that, because he wasn't throwing bombs. He was just out there. He was not throwing bombs. No, he was just out there. No, that does not insinuate that. But, and yes, sir, I am on record saying Drew Brees had a better arm than Tom Brady. So that's it. Your logic is because he played longer, he had a better arm. No, that doesn't. Because I play longer than you does not mean that my jump shot better. That does not mean that. Even though you might play longer than me, and when I get into my 40s or I get into my late 30s, I don't shoot it as well as I did when I was 30. But that doesn't mean that you shoot it better than me overall because I got old. That doesn't mean that at all. No, absolutely not. So anyway, like I was saying, it made sense to hold on to it made sense to hold on to it made sense to hold on to Bryant. Excuse me, it made sense to hold on to Bryant because financially, we're gonna make way more. We're gonna make way more holding on to him than we are moving off of him. And the rebuild for some teams gets a little tougher. That's where teams get shook up at, right? Teams get shook up because they are afraid that the rebuild and the process isn't going to work for them. So what they do is instead of actually rebuilding and trying to stay at the top, what they're doing is they're holding on to what was so we can make bread, even if we're garbage, which is what the Lakers were. Philly had a different mindset because they had Barkley. So they could move on from Doc. They should have moved on from Doc way earlier than 87, though. They should have moved on from him way before that. When you got Barkley and Andrew Toney tore his Achilles, they should have been moved on from Barkley. But instead, they should have been moved on from Doc, not Barkley. I apologize. They should have been moved on from him. But with that being said, it was financially beneficial to them, right? It was financially beneficial to them to hold on to Doc. The retirement tour, his legacy. I get that. When you have legacy players, that's something completely different. What's going on in Miami? You do not have a legacy player. You got Jimmy Butler. You ain't draft Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler ain't Dwayne Wade. I think you got a legacy player in Bam. I think Bam could spend his career with the Miami Heat. Kind of like Lonzo Mourning. And immediately when people hear you building around Bam, well, Bam's not a number one. Well, wait a minute. Hang on. You build around him. You get yourself a damn good lead guard. I think you already got your 5 man. I think you already got. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, right? I'm not trying to be disrespectful, Goat. I want to make sure I'm clear on that when we talk about Doc, right? I want to make sure that we clear on that when we talk about Doc. But I think you already got your 5 man in Ware, in Khalil Ware. I think you already got your small forward in Jaquez. I think you got your franchise player in Bam. What's the difference here? I think you've gone as far as you're going to go with buckets. And I think it's time, before it's too late, to retool this roster and make the mistake of holding on to a guy longer than you should have. Because Buckets is not a lifer. He ain't Wade. He's not Doc. He's not Bryant. Right? He's not that. He's not a lifer. He's only been there 5 years. That's not a lifer. And with you retooling, you still in a space. For example, Bam is 26 years old. I think Bam is either 26 or 27 years old. With that being said, I'm on record saying this. When you have a guy, right? When you have a guy who at 26, 27 years old, I feel like we're in the beginning of Bam's prime years. I think that you could get 6, 7 more prime years out of Bam. What I don't want to do is I don't want to waste Bam's peak years. That's what I don't want to do. Because there's a difference between peak years and prime years. James had peak years. I think James's peak years were '09. I'm going to say at his best, and this is a little bit longer than others, but I think James' peak years when he was at his best, I'm going to say '09 to probably 14. I take 18 out because 18 that was his best work. I don't think James wasn't nearly as athletic in 18 as he was in 13. No, he wasn't. So with that being said, I don't want to waste a guy's prime years, especially when I have an elite player on the defensive end who's a 20-10 guy, which is who Bam Adebayo is. I think Bam Adebayo is a 20-10 guy on a Tuesday for the next 3 or 4 years. And then he's an elite defender. I can build around that. I can definitely build around that. Now, does that mean that we're going to win an NBA championship? Let me tell you something, guys. You guys get wrapped up in, and I think this is interesting, you guys get wrapped up in, if you're a number one on the NBA championship team, yo, you need a lot of stuff to go your way to win it, man. You need a lot to go your way in order to win it. You can have the formula, but there's a lot of things that have to come into place, that have to fall into place in order for you to win it. It's not just, yo, I got the best player and this is the end-all be-all. No, that's not the case. James proved that in 2011. They clearly had the best player in the world. They didn't win it yet. So you need some things to go your way. You need to get lucky in a lot of different aspects. But in order to ensure the possibility of that luck, in order to ensure it, you got to build the foundation. I feel like Bam is the foundation in Miami. Very much like what Alonzo Mourning was. Then you go get Tim Hardaway, right? Then you go get a sharpshooter like Vashawn Leonard. You go get guys like that. And then you build around Lonzo Mourning. And they end up losing in the East Finals, right? They end up losing in the East Finals to the Bulls. They end up playing in 99 in a lockout shortened season. They got some bad luck. They were not supposed to see that Knick team in round one. That was not an 8 seed. That was a 50-win team in the regular season. That was with Sprewell in Houston and Marcus Camby. That was a 50-win team. Easily. That was a 50-win team. But we had a lockout shortened season. They ran into a buzzsaw, which is what I'm talking about when I talk about a team, when you're trying to win it, having some luck, having some things go your way. But you have to ensure that you put yourself in a position to be lucky. I've said this to you guys countless times. Do you think, and if you don't think this, I think that this is ridiculous. Do you think that there's teams in the NBA that don't duck smoke? This is what I'm talking about getting lucky. You don't think Dallas, when they saw Minnesota bounce Denver, they weren't like, whew, man, we ain't got to see them dudes. Hell yes, they were. Hell yes, they were. I'm sure Oklahoma City, when Denver bounced the Lakers, was like, I'm glad we ain't got to see them dudes. I'm glad we don't have to see them. Why? Because that's smoke that we might not necessarily want. That's less of a problem that I have to deal with, dealing with them dudes. So to put myself in a space where I can afford myself some of that luck. And when that opportunity, because that's what luck is. That's exactly what luck is. It's when opportunity presents itself. That's the definition of luck. When preparation meets opportunity. That's the textbook definition of luck. I am prepared, building the foundation. Now I have the opportunity. I'm in the playoffs. And now I end up getting lucky because Denver got bounced, or this team isn't as sharp as they were, and we're playing better. When I think about this, I'm bringing up the Miami Heat because I'm watching the Olympics and I'm looking at Bam and I'm thinking to myself, This is a 20 and 10. I think that's a franchise player right there. I do. I think that's a guy I can build my unit around. Right now, I think that I can build my unit around him. I think that we have the necessary. I think that with him, Jaquez, this kid Ware, I think we have the necessary ingredients to get as far as we can possibly get, close to the championship. I do think we're missing some things. Maybe a little bit of seasoning, right? Maybe a little bit of seasoning, a touch of paprika, something like that. I think we are missing not much, but I do think that we have the ingredients, right? I do think that we have the ingredients. With that being said, right? With that being said, I can't waste any more of his peak seasons because I've gotten everything that I'm going to get out of Jimmy Butler, who, by the way, wants to get paid. He wants an extension, which is why Rouse has not extended him. Rouse hasn't extended him because this isn't a prove it season. He's already done that. Buckets has already proven who he is over the last 5 years. Jimmy Butler has been an All-Pro 5 times. 3 of them 5 times he's been an All-Pro, been with Miami. Has been with the Miami Heat. Second team All-Pro, third team All-Pro, third team All-Pro with the Miami Heat. Now, on opening night, he's going to be 35 years old. I don't care where you live. James is not the example. He's not. No, James is not the example. He's something completely different. You can't go off of a dude like him that's 39 years old. No, he's the exception to the rule. There's more times than not, right? More times than not, you're going to see guys that start going this way. You've seen the best of Buckets. You've seen the best of him. It gets no better. He's taking you to the NBA Finals in 2020, in the 2019-2020 season. And he wasn't great in those playoffs. I'm not going to sit there and go, yo, Jimmy Butler was bent. No, he wasn't. No, he was not. He had some mishaps. Same thing in 23. He was fantastic against Milwaukee. He was good against the Knicks, even though he got hurt. All right. Against Boston, he wasn't fantastic. He gave you a game. He gave you a game or two, but you've gotten everything that you're going to get out of him. You're not getting anything more. That's not happening. You're not, yo. You're not getting any more from him in particular, right? You're not getting any more. So if I got a 26, 27-year-old in Bam, if I got a 26, 27-year-old in Bam who's got 6, 7 more years at this level, I got 6 or 7 more years of prime Bam. And I probably got maybe 3 more years of doing this at this level. I got to maximize that, yo. I have to. I got to maximize that, and I got to get everything that I can possibly get right now from him. And how do I do that? By putting the necessary pieces around him in order for us to have an opportunity. In order for us to have an opportunity to compete for the NBA championship. Like Bam, in fact, if I think Bam's birthday is today. Yeah, his birthday's today. He just turned 27 today. Right? He just turned 27 today. That's his birthday. So with his birthday being today, the last 3 years, like this season that just passed, I got a 20-9 guy. Last season, I got a 20-9 guy. This season, I got a 19-10 guy. I got a 20-10 guy, right? I got a 20-10 guy on elite defense. I have to build my unit around that. I have to. And I got probably 3, maybe 4 more years of these years to do it. That's it. I think 3 or 4 more years with this Bam. I'm still going to have a prime Bam at 34, right? I'm still going to have a prime Bam at 33. I still am. I'm not going to have a peak Bam at 33 though. I'm not. I'm not going to have a peak Bam at 33. So the idea of putting a lead guard around him, and the offense is going to change because now with Ware, I can move Bam to the 4, which is where which is where I thought he always should be. Excuse me, where I thought he always should be. And with him being at the 4, that expands my offense because it's very much like what you're going to see with Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson Jr. Very much like what you see with Cat and Rudy, where I got a defensive big, and now I got another big. I got a 4-man who can stretch the floor because I'm watching Bam on this USA team. And there's a lot of things that I realize that he can do, and I'm sure Spo is over there licking his chops like, man, wait till we get this dude back in Miami. How much I'm going to change the offense, how much better he can be in our offense. I'm going to start adding stuff like the long ball to his game. Well, the fact that he's added the long ball to his game, I'm going to start adding things like that to our offense. I'm going to start doing that. And the reason why I'm going to start doing that is because he can do that. He's shown he can do that. So with him showing that he could do that, I got to get other pieces around him to expand not just his game, but our game. I have to do that. I have to. His ability to distribute, his ability to get the ball off the glass and go with it. Bam does have a stop and pop game. Is he great in the mid-range? I think Bam can be better in the mid-range off the strength that him now playing the 4 and him having more freedom to do that. But I feel like moving off of buckets is the best thing because if I could get something for him and continue to build around Bam and not waste his prime years, we would be good. See, the problem that's going on in Golden State is that their franchise player is still awesome. That's the problem. Like, Curry isn't over. Curry is still fantastic. I still think Curry is in that top 5 conversation. I still think he's there. So Golden State is in a bit of a pickle because your best player is still awesome. Now, they're in a space very much like the Lakers were with Bryant. Philly was with Doc. They're very much in that space where you got a lifer. You know, Curry is in year 15. You got a lifer here. So how, like, me moving off of him, I'm not sure that would be financially, it wouldn't be good. The best time to retool our team was 2 years ago. We didn't do that. Curry, on the other hand, the fact that he can still play, what up, DJ? What up, DJ? The fact that he can still play at a high level, could you move off of him and get something substantial and rebuild this roster? Yeah, you could do that. Why don't teams do that, though? Teams don't do that because, one, they're afraid of how they're going to be perceived, even though it's probably best if you did do that. Because the championship window with the Golden State Warriors is closed. It's closed. They're done. After 22, that was it. They're done. They are finished. The championship window with the Miami Heat, I don't think it's over. If we can do something about buckets. If we can do something about buckets, move off of buckets and get something substantial for him. I don't necessarily mean another top 10 player because I don't think that there's anybody that's giving you a top 10 player for buckets. I don't think so. But these teams, what they do is they hold on to these guys longer than they should. They hold on to these guys longer than they should, and it sets the franchise back even further. The Lakers are a prime example of that. The great Bill Walsh had one of the best quotes that I've heard, that I'd rather get off you 2 years too early than a year too late. If he would have stayed with the 49ers, Jerry Rice wouldn't have still been with the Niners in 1999. He wouldn't have been. Bill Walsh would have got off of him. and he would have got something for him. Soon as Terrell Owens showed up and Terrell Owens was doing what he was doing, Bill Walsh would have got off of him. 100% he would have. And he would have been right to do that too. But you guys, because we are emotionally, I'm not going to say you guys, because we are emotionally attached to these guys, and we're so used to them being a Golden State Warrior, a Los Angeles Laker, a lifer. We're so used to them being that, right? We're so used to them being that to see them go somewhere else, like if the Warriors were to step off Steph Curry and trade him to Charlotte, that would be foul. That would be foul. 100% that would be foul. No, that's that's the Lakers trading Bryant to Cleveland. No, that's foul. You don't want to do that. You do want to give him an opportunity where he could still win. I do want to do that. I don't want to treat him unfair. But holding on to him, knowing that, one, we still have an opportunity to win, and two, we are in a much better position with the young guys. We're in a much better position with the young guys, and we got to move on. We have to. Knowing that, and you don't do it, you're doing a disservice to your franchise. You're doing a disservice to your franchise. But I think that the consensus is hold on to guys, right? I think that the consensus is to hold on to guys off the strength that you're just so used to seeing them, and you are emotionally attached to these dudes like you are. And the fact that you are emotionally attached to them and they sell tickets, that's what people care about. That's what franchises care about. And I understand that. I'm not one of these people that goes against the business. I'm about to say something that you guys think is wild as hell, but I wholeheartedly believe if the Lakers was really trying to win, they would have got off James. They would have got off James a long time ago. If they was really trying to win, they would have got off James a long time ago. If they was really trying to win. After that second year, when they won a championship in 20, and then they lost in the playoffs in 21, and then they didn't make the playoffs in 22, if y'all was really trying to win, that was when it was time to get off James. But again, this is a business. This is about selling tickets. This is about revenue. This is about being on TV, jersey sales, all of that good stuff. If I'm not mistaken, Bronny James, I think he sold 500,000 jerseys when he got on the Lakers. I think he sold 500,000 jerseys. You think he's doing that if he got drafted by Charlotte? I'm 100% confident he's not. If he's up in Portland, he's not selling 500,000 jerseys. But the fact that he's on the Lakers and his father plays for the Lakers, this is business. But if we're being honest, right? If we're being honest about winning, right? If we're being honest, not 500 million, not would it be? If we're being honest about winning, holding on to these guys longer than you should means you're not serious about winning. You're not. And if the Miami Heat really want to have a chance to continue to compete for the NBA championship, it's time to move on from buckets. It is. It's time to move on from buckets. I'm not saying that he can't play. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. I am not saying that he can't play, because he can still play. But he's given you everything that he could possibly give you. There's nothing left to give you. There's nothing more to give you. I'm not saying that there's nothing left. There's still something left to give you. He could still be an 18 to 22 a game guy. But where have you been? You've been to the NBA Finals twice with him. The accolades that he's accumulated, being an all-league defender, being an all-pro, half of that has been with the Miami Heat. Half of that has been with the Miami Heat. So with that being said, this is as good as it gets with this guy. So what are we holding on to now? What are we holding on to now? Because now we're in a space where we got to consider paying him. Rouse hasn't paid him. And the reason why Rouse hasn't paid him, because he's looking down the road. Jimmy Butler's contract is up in 2 seasons. So that means that at 38 years old, Buckets wants an extension for $111 million. So imagine me at 38. So imagine Rouse at 38 years old having to pay Buckets $52 million. $54 million. What? Jimmy Butler at 38 years old, I got to pay him $54 million? Which would be thank you money. And thank you for what, by the way? What am I thanking you for? I'm thanking you for getting us to the NBA championship twice. I'm thanking you for making us a viable championship contending team. I'm thanking you for that, even though I didn't thank Dwayne Wade for that. In fact, I paid Hassan Whiteside instead. He's the guy I gave the money to, and I let Dwayne Wade walk out the front door. Which Rouse says to this day, he regrets the way he handled Dwayne Wade's contract. So if he handled Dwayne Wade like that, knowing that that wasn't the correct way to do it, I have another opportunity to handle this a different way. Not let Buckets walk out the front door, not just shoo him away, but recognize that we've gone as far as we're going to go. We ain't going no further than this. We're not going any further than this. This is it with you. And I want to move forward with the young guys, which is what the Golden State Warriors should have done. The Golden State Warriors should have done this in 22. That was the time to move on. That was the time to move on. And a guy like Buckets, who's in the space that he's in and wants the contract and the money that he's commanding, can't really see it. No. And the problem with these organizations is they double talk you. I'm trying to win, but I'm holding on to this guy. I'm trying to win, but it's business. If it is business, which it 100% is, if it's business, say that. Say that this is what I'm doing. I'm holding on to James to sell tickets. That's what I'm doing more than anything. I'm holding on to James to sell tickets. I'm holding on to James because we're going to be on TV more off the strength of him. That's why I'm holding on to James. I'm holding on to Curry. I'm holding on to Curry off the strength of us now still being viable, because I'm not going back to us winning one playoff series in 23 years. I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. Nope, I'm not going back to that. So I'm going to hold on to Curry, even though I did have an opportunity, right? Even though I did have an opportunity to win, and I did that, and I had an opportunity to retool right then and there, and I didn't do that. So now, with that being said, right? So now with that being said, what are we doing? We holding on to the wrong thing. That's what we're doing. And when it's time to get off of a guy, when it's time to get off of a guy, they don't. And then you wonder why. And the Bulls are a prime example of that. The Chicago Bulls are a prime example of that. 100% they are. A prime example of that. Holding on to guys way longer. Your city, one thing I found out about basketball cities, your city would so much be behind you if you decided to get off guys, built the foundation, and were bad for a year or two and showed them what you were doing, as opposed to trying to sell them something completely different. Like the Knicks were doing for years when they were telling everybody, yo, we're making the playoffs next year. We're making the playoffs next year. Meanwhile, they're losing 50 games every year. Y'all ain't serious. Y'all not serious. Y'all not. You are not serious. So I have such a I have such a difficult time with that, man. I do. And the reason why I have a difficult time with that is because if you could just be honest and say, yo, This is business. I'm still trying to sell tickets. That's why I'm holding on to my guy. I can get with that. So, but I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you guys. What up, Adrian?
Hey, what's good? What's good? My audio working? Everything good on that side?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you make a lot of good points. I think the key thing here, right? Um, why did Mark Cuban decide to sell a stake in his team? Why did he blow up that 2011 Mavericks team?
Mm-hmm.
Why are Wyke, the leading conglomerate of the Boston Celtics, deciding to sell high right now? Because as much as ownerships want to win a championship, sports just the sports market is not a profitable business, right? At the very highest level.
Mm,
If you want to make money, you have to also be willing to lose money, right?
a lot of it too.
A lot of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially in this new second apron CBA, a lot of these teams don't want to pay that. Why did one of the most allegedly the most successful G? I think he's overrated, right? But why did the Warriors GM decide to leave? Because he didn't want to be the guy to break up the Warriors core
Mm-hmm.
after winning the championship. Because he knew what was coming down the line.
He saw the hole in the boat, and he knew it
He
was
saw
sinking.
it. He saw that this group has reached its peak, and
Mm-hmm.
that hard decisions had to be made. That was the season that the pool incident happened. Draymond got re-signed for all the context that people are wondering about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think you absolutely hit the point about income and revenue, because a lot of these NBA teams, the goal isn't to win. The goal is to make money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And with the way in which the current NBA is structured, you don't have to do a lot to be successful. Now, I think this applies more to the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, because the way in which the Western Conference is constructed is that you can be a very good team and still not even make the playoffs. So you almost have to be good to even be competitive, if that makes sense.
Right.
The level of parity almost forces you to invest heavily in the team for that very reason.
Sure.
Um, I think a lot of these teams, particularly the Heat and the Lakers, right, historic franchises with established ownership groups. Yes, they want to win, but the problem is they want to win on their own terms, right? Are they going to make the profit on their business? Are they going to be able to sell the new VIP ticket seats and all the new things they've added to their stadium, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers are a classic example. They have these new executive VIP seats, $20,000. You get VIP chefs,
Mm-hmm.
Michelin star restaurants, all these kind of things, right?
Sure.
That's what they want to sell. They want to sell an experience. They don't want to sell a basketball product. They want to sell an experience. That's
Oh,
why
it's
you're
the
going.
event. 100%. It's the event.
and
100%.
and
It's the
and the
event.
Bulls are another example, right? They want to sell the dining theater. They want to sell the museum, the merch. That's what a lot of these NBA teams are selling you on.
Mm-hmm.
So the way in which you do that is have a marketable star to draw interest in the product, and then you can then bring the players. You can then bring the casual fan base in to almost buy the experience, right? You
Right.
got to look at LeBron James or Jimmy Butler, just names that people recognize.
Mm-hmm.
When they go to the games, they can see the stadium, they can see the nearby tourism, and almost invest in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes a profitable business for a lot of these guys, because unfortunately, the way in which a lot of these owners look at it, you're not making enough money for just pure on court production, if that makes sense.
Yes, I understand that. Yes, I do. I
And
100% understand that.
I also think that a lot of these teams, some of them either interfere in the GM's ability to make moves because of that at times.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that certain GMs are get too emotionally attached to their players, especially players that they drafted or can spend a lot of capital in bringing them in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Clippers, I think, are very emotionally attached to Kawhi. They invested so much in the Kawhi Leonard project, right? To the point where they should have probably looked at moving on a while ago, but
Right.
because they're just locked on and just stuck, With
Are
these
they
guys,
emotionally attached to him more than what they gave up to get him? Because
I
when I
think it's a
think
bit of
about
both
because when I think
because of
about
the
I don't know, Adrian. Because when I think
the
about what Kawhi Leonard brought, I mean, he's from the region. He's from the San Diego area, which is like 2 hours south of Los Angeles. In addition to that, he had just won the NBA championship, so they were holding on to the hope of him bringing them a title. He was coming into Los Angeles with James already there, James already being there. This could be a budding battle, 100%. And this could make the Clippers viable. Only he broke down.
yeah.
And sure, it was time to get off of him, but they kept beating that horse. Like, okay, next year.
Yeah.
Even though we already knew this is who this guy is, and it's just going to get worse. I don't think that they were emotionally attached to him more than they were trying to get back what they had
The
lost.
reason why I say emotionally attached, Jill, is they looked at LeBron and they said we need the star, and they looked at Kawhi as a star, which he rightfully is,
100% he was.
and they looked at him as we need him because he's a star, not because he's a good player, because he's the name we need, right?
We
And
got
I
a bunch of
think
good
that
players on the Clippers. We got a bunch of
oh
good.
no,
We need a
for sure.
star. That's what we need.
I think that was the wrong approach. I think you need to be patient and build a team and an organization organically. But a lot of these ownership groups who are new, who want to win now, don't necessarily want that to happen, right?
Right.
And that almost leads to these kind of situations where they almost speed up a rebuild, right? Because people forget Shea was a Clipper. Some
Yes, he
people
was.
forget that,
And Doc did
right?
not want to give him up. He didn't, but he had
Right?
to.
And you look at that trade that they brought in to bring in Kawhi and PG, Jalen Williams, Shea, 2 pick swaps in 2027 and 2029. So for those who don't know, if you have a pick swap, whoever has the higher pick, OKC gets to decide who has that. So if Clippers have a worse pick in 2027, 2029, they can almost decide to take that pick.
So if the Clippers end up with a lottery pick, that's Oklahoma City's pick. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So
Yeah, it's
imagine
crazy.
Oklahoma City in 5 years with Shea still on the crew, with Chet still on the crew, and they're competing for an NBA championship, and we got a lottery pick in 2027.
That's the thing, right?
In 3
And
years, in 2027, they just was in the Western Conference Championship, or they were just in the NBA Finals, and in that draft, they got the number 3 pick.
yeah.
Wow.
And now here's the thing, Chill. You could argue that the OKC Thunder are the biggest team in basketball in terms of pure on the court product, right? They got an MVP candidate. They've got the most draft capital we've ever seen a franchise have. They have arguably the best young core in all of basketball, right? They're not talked about more than the Lakers. They're not talked about more than the Clippers. They're not talked more about than the Celtics.
Right.
So if you're looking at it in terms of market value, they're not more valuable than those teams. They're not more valuable than the Bulls. They're more valuable than the Knicks. Now, the Knicks have done a lot of great things, especially this year. I like the Mikal Bridges trade. I think it can help them a lot.
Right.
But I think a lot of people have realized that winning on the court doesn't necessarily mean success for these owners. And I think that's why they keep on to these stars for longer than they should do.
It actually costs more to win than it does to just be a team. It actually costs more to win. And a lot of these teams don't want to do that. So, Adrian, good to talk to you, brother. Absolutely,
sure,
my
man.
man.
For sure.
Yep. What up?
What up, Chewy? You hear me?
What's going on, brother?
What's going on? I'm doing good. How you doing?
Running good tonight, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. To the point that you're making about the attachment to these players, I mean, again, I think at the end of the day, winning is hard. So
It is.
a lot of the time, if they do win with you, they're going to be very emotionally attached because you've taken them to the promised land. And at the same time as well, being very mediocre in basketball is also very difficult as well. Like it's very hard to be a middle of the pack team. And most of the time you're playing on the margins. So if you give examples of like the Portland Trailblazers, why they were probably so attached to Damian Lillard, they hadn't really been a good team in many, many years, probably since the Drexler years. And even then, the Drexler years had the same ultimate ending as Damian Lillard, We can only take you so far. We're a small market team. We can't compete for a championship. And every time we do get to the finals, we meet a significantly better team that is
Significantly better.
essentially destined, infinitely better. You meet the
No
Bulls and
question
you meet
about
the
it.
Pistons. And our best player isn't to the level that we can take you any further than this point. So I
Right.
think you get to that point where the team stays loyalty because they don't know what to do. A lot of these GMs are very much handicapped by their markets, very much handicapped by their wallets of their owners. So for them, if they can put out a very decent product on their end, then they are happy with that because this city, this team doesn't have a great basketball product, and they can give that to the audience. I think on the higher degree, you have situations like Golden State. But if Golden State was bought for $465 million by Joe Lacob and his group, and they are now worth $7.7 billion. They are worth more than the Lakers. They are the most expensive team. They are the biggest team in basketball. Yes, it's even between them and the Knicks. But imagine you have that Steph Curry. You buy this team in 2009 and you hit your rag into this young kid from Davidson. And you said, this is going to be the guy that takes us to this point. Not only have you won us 4 championships, you've basically increased our value nearly 4 times in the time that we've been there. You've taken us to
That's
6 NBA
incredible.
finals. You are not going to let that guy go. Look at how much money that this guy generated. And Golden State is one of the prime examples of where winning actually generates you money. And I'm not gonna personally be the like again. Is it Joe Lacob? Joe Lacob, the one that was a GM for Warriors. He did not want to be the guy
Bob
who broke that
Myers.
up, and
Bob Myers.
Bob Myers,
Yeah.
wanted to be, yeah, Bob Myers did not want to be the guy to break that up. I wouldn't want to be the guy to break that because I have to convince an ownership group that I'm going to trade away their biggest cash cow that they've ever had and convince them that things are going to be better on the other side. If I was in that job, I'd quit too. Honestly, I would quit because I'm not doing that. I cannot convince billionaires to give up money for me to tell them that I'm smart enough to make them this money back because that's what they're going to be concerned with. They're going to
That's the
be
first
concerned
question they're
with
going
the
to ask
times
you,
where
Amari. That's the first question that we're going to ask is, how can we get this bread back?
and I don't have an answer for that. There's no way you can tell me that something is going to replace this. I mean, the Warriors at one point didn't make the playoffs for about 8 years in a row. I mean, until they made the We Believe team, I believe in
They were
2007.
garbage.
They didn't make the playoffs until that point.
They
They
were
were
garbage.
garbage. They were the worst team in California. So
I used to
it
live in the
was
Bay Area, Amari, and I would actually go to watch Warriors games, and like you could sit wherever you wanted. You could. You could sit wherever you wanted. They were garbage. I promise you that. And this is with
awful
Anton
team.
Jameson and Jason Richardson, guys like that. They were
Baron
trash.
Davis.
Nobody cared about them. Nobody
And
cared about that
it's
crew.
as and it's a small area. But then again, that's where it becomes very difficult to get rid of that attachment. And what you'll find as well with ownership groups is when they get stars, they'll leverage their stars to do certain things and make specific moves because of the amount of money that they're making. So
Sure.
if you look at the Lakers, I believe in 2000, they moved from the arena that they were originally into the Staples Center on the
Yeah.
basis of Shaq. They built the Staples Center on Shaq and Kobe's back. And if you look at how that played out, the Lakers are one of the few teams that did the right thing in getting rid of their cash cow in Shaq in 2004. Because when you really think about it, he only had 2 good years left, and we knew you could usher in Kobe Bryant. But do you think the Lakers would have got rid of Shaq if they didn't have Kobe? Absolutely not. They would have rode Shaq until
No,
he basically
no
broke
way.
down.
Mm-mm.
They
No
would,
way.
and the only team that has ever broken up a team a couple years earlier than everybody thought was the Chicago Bulls. And the problem with the Chicago Bulls is that they've almost been cursed since that point because Jerry Krause wanted to essentially said 98 was the last season. So he said he didn't want, it wasn't saying that he didn't want any of them back, but he wasn't inviting any of them back.
Right.
It wasn't that case. And I think there was part of him that knew Michael Jordan was 37 in 1998?
He was 35.
35. Scottie
Yes.
Pippen was 34 with 35, 33 with a
He was
bad back.
33.
Dennis Rodman,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dennis Rodman was 30. Ooh, he was older than
36.
them. I think he was
He was
37.
36, going on 37. Ron
And how
Harper
many
was Ron
years?
Harper was 37. 36, I think Ron Harper was 36, something like that. So they were
It was a good
clearly
bench.
as good as they were, and they won the NBA championship. Jerry Krause clearly saw the end of the line. He saw it.
They might not have beaten the Spurs in '99. They definitely wasn't going to beat the Lakers in 2000. And part of it was the fact that they you need to move on at the right time. And a lot of teams, they don't do that. And they usually keep players because of the sentimental value of a certain thing. Again, going to the Bulls, that 2011 run that they had with Derrick Rose was the reason why they kept Derrick Rose maybe 5 or 6 years
Mhm.
longer than they probably should have. They probably should have gotten rid of him after the second knee injury,
Have he,
but they kept
had
him
he not
because
had he not won the league MVP, they would have gotten rid of him long before that.
oh, absolutely. But also the story of Derrick Rose, Chicago guy.
He's from
Nigga, he
there,
is
sure.
he's from there. He's
Mhm.
important to these people. So the sentimental value is not lost, and the fan base as well. And not, I could even go to another example, and this one is on the worst side of things, where you get a situation with the Knicks with Carmelo Anthony. The
Mhm.
Knicks were so confused about what their audience wanted, and they brought in Carmelo Anthony. They stripped their whole team away, got rid of
Gutted the crew.
everybody. They got rid
Gutted
of
the crew.
gutted everything, got Carmelo Anthony in because they wanted this big star. By the time you get to 2013, this is 2 seasons. It's over. It's the Carmelo Anthony experience is over. The Knicks fans are loyal. It's a big market. They'll keep coming to the games with MSG. You can almost sell them MSG, but that was what they were putting on the floor. The Knicks was garbage. I
Now,
mean, there was
now remember, Mari, that 2013 team. I mean, they had won a division. They had won 54
yeah,
games. They had an older Jason Kidd. They had an old Rasheed Wallace. Kenyon Martin was on the crew. It was obvious that the best version of those guys was gone. Right, that was
yes,
obvious. Right, there was no question that that version of them was already gone. Now, holding on to Carmelo Anthony for as long as you did was off the strength that Carmelo Anthony is from this area. We're going to sell
hmm
tickets, very much like what's going on with Derrick Rose. We're going to sell tickets. We can't get rid of our cash cow. But if we really serious about winning, right? If we really serious about winning, we got to get a foundation. Oklahoma City is serious. They serious
they're
about
serious
winning
about
in
winning,
Oklahoma
but
City.
they've been serious.
They serious in Oklahoma City. They serious in Minnesota about winning. They are
Yes,
actually trying to do something in Minnesota. They are dead serious. It may not
they
look
are
like it.
building on their core.
Yes, Denver is serious. That's why they won the NBA championship. They built that unit around Joker and Jamal Murray, and then they added Michael Porter Jr. You could tell the teams that's serious about winning and the teams that's just trying to make money. Now, I understand the logic, right? I understand the logic that this is business. And I understand the logic that you have to make money. But in the NBA, very differently than what's going on in pro football. You're not winning on the cheap, number one. Number two, salaries go up, so you cannot continuously be emotionally attached to these guys because eventually you're going to have to give them up, and they're going to cost more down the road the longer you hold on to them.
And to that point as well, if you look at it, and I truly believe that if you're a team and you're ownership group, you can either make money, you can do good business, or you can try and do good winning. And what this Celtics sell tells you is the fact that this group realized, damn, this was an experience to win this championship again. And we invested so much money into making the championship, but we can't afford this. This is
We can't
not,
keep doing it. We can't. We
we,
can't keep
we
doing
can't.
it. Mm-mm.
We've been trying to win for the last, what, 2008, 16 years. We finally won it. This has been a lot of money. This has been an experience. I am done with it now. That
Yeah.
is what the Celtics group has said. They are finished with it. There's no team that's going to perpetually keep spending money and bleeding money to win a championship. And again, when you talk about the teams that are serious about winning, if you notice as well, one of the other things that teams do when they know they haven't got a chance of winning, but they want to still get the name value, is they get older players. And the teams that we've seen it do that with is Cleveland in the last season, LeBron James, and the Lakers in the 2022 season, where they got all of these old time players that
So we need to
came
sell
in
tickets,
and
we do. We need to sell tickets, man. We got it. We
they
got to
do.
put some butts in the seats. We got to get on TV.
But
We
don't tell
have
me
to
you're
do
trying to
that.
win.
No, oh, you're
But
not.
don't
No,
tell me you're trying to win.
100%.
You're
You're not
not trying
trying to
to
do that.
you're not trying to win with LeBron James. He's 60. There's this man is 60 years old, and you're trying to tell me that you're trying to win with LeBron
Nah.
James. I'm sorry. There's no LeBron James very fair all the time, but I'm sorry that I'm seeing this guy. He's getting gassed within
That's
30 minutes
obvious.
within the
I
game.
mean, I'm watching him in the Olympics. Don't get me wrong, Amari. Does he still have the goods? Yes. But the fact that I'm relying on my best player being a 39-year-old, almost a 40-year-old, he's still in the league where there was guys who came in the league, played decades played a decade, played 15 years. Now they gone. He's still here. Blake Griffin.
His son's here.
Right. His son is here.
His son is in the league. That's the
Blake,
biggest. His son is an adult and he's in the league.
Think about that. That's
And
how long he's been around. That's how long this dude been around. And I can't say enough of this. He's been playing at a high level. He's still playing at a high level, and I won't argue that. But if we're serious about winning, and we're serious about building something that's sustainable, where we can do this for a time.
Right.
If we could do this for a time, what we're doing right now is not it. No. So
and that's the perfect word you use. So just last thing, say just sustainable. What OKC is doing is sustainable, and they're gonna make it sustain for years to come. I'll go now. Have a good evening, chill.
Good to talk to you, Mari. All right, brother. Vinny Van, what up?
What up, chill? Long
what
time,
up?
Man. I got a little pushback on the Miami situation. I came in here a little late. I heard you talking about it.
Yep.
I feel like looking at the landscape of the East in a lens, I mean, you feel how you feel about Philly. People feel how they feel about the Knicks. I feel like the only surefire team in the East that we've seen do it at the highest level is the Celtics.
Sure,
correct.
I can give you
and in these past few years, Miami has been the only other team from the East to get to that high level. They haven't closed out, though. So I feel like what Jimmy Butler do, I think it's like $48 million next year, and then he has that player out. I think it is, or something like that. I think they should go with the fully healthy roster for this season, honestly, with the healthy Terry Rozier, with Bam looking how he's looking, with their new draft pick, Khalil Ware, with Tyler Hero maybe becoming a rotation player again. I don't know if they're going to start him. But I really am not mad at the roster. I hear your point with it's better to get off someone early than too late.
Right.
But with their situation...
Which, by the way, I don't want to cut you off in there. I want you to keep going. I want you to keep going. But I think Tyler Hero, I think he could be the best rotation player in the game. Like how we talk about Nasri, how we talk about Malik Monk, guys like Lou Williams. I think that's Tyler Hero. I think he could.
I'm not mad at that. I feel like he's better in a rotational role, honestly, than a starting role.
I think that he could be. I think that he could be the best rotation player in the game, and he could play starter minutes. But keep going.
Yeah, just to close it out about this point, I feel like fully healthy. I mean, we saw it in stints in the regular season. They had that big losing streak. I think it was like 7 games in a row when they traded for Terry Rozier.
Yep.
They lost and then they were injured in the playoffs. Jimmy got injured in that playing game. So I feel like running it back fully healthy isn't really a bad bet with the landscape of the East. I mean, it just depends on how you view Milwaukee and all those other teams.
I think that teams like Milwaukee, I'm out on Milwaukee. I'm out on Philly.
Okay.
Because I'm out on Philly because their best players made of glass. And I'm on record saying that, and I stand on that logic. As good as Joel Embiid is, I think he's made of glass. He came in the league broken. He's been broken
ever since.
He's been broken ever since. What he'll do, Vinny, is he'll trick you because he'll play awesome. Yeah, he'll trick you and he'll play awesome. So he'll drop
50 on the Knicks.
Right, and I'm thinking because I'm on record saying I think that he's good enough as a talent to throw a unit on his back and win the NBA championship. I think he's that good. He's made of glass, though. That's the problem. That's 100%. The problem. And at some point, he's going to break down. So with a guy like Jimmy Butler, when you get to this point, now I'm going to give you some numbers really quickly, Vinny. So Jimmy Butler showed up in the league in 2011, right? Showed up in the league in 2011. It was 13 years ago. So we're going into year 14. He's been on an all-pro team 5 times. 3 of them 5 years he's been on an all-pro team has been in Miami, right? Yep. In the last 10 years, he's averaged 62 games a year. That's it. That's all you're getting. And we're going the other way with that. Like, we're not 29-year-old Jimmy Butler that you got in 2019, 2020. We're not that Jimmy Butler no more. We're Jimmy Butler going on 35. That's the Jimmy Butler that we're getting, right? So we've gotten the all-pros out of him. He's been an all-league defender twice. Twice. He's been an all-league defender in Miami. So all of the things that I've wanted, that I've gotten out of him, all the things that I've wanted from him, I've gotten them. The difference is I got a young guy who I got in his prime, and I feel like I'm approaching, if I'm not there already, I feel like I'm approaching his peak years. Vinny, I don't want to waste any of those because those peak years, I'm not getting them back. And it's a few of them. Understand the difference between a guy's prime and his peak. I don't want to waste any of those peak years, particularly on Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and I understand that for sure. But it's like in reality, what would you like paired next to Bam? Like maybe if they could pull off a package for, I don't know, maybe DeAndre Hunter and Bogey for Jimmy. Maybe I don't know if that's possible or something like that. But it's like all these trades that you would do for Jimmy. How many years would you be away from going to the finals again if you did it? You'd really never know.
That's the thing, because what I have now, I feel like I got a star. I got a franchise player in Bam. I think this kid Ware is going to be a star. I got my starting small forward in Jaquez. I think I need a lead guard. That's what I think I need. I feel like if I can get a lead guard in here, because I don't think it's Terry Rozier. I don't.
I don't either.
I don't think if I'm trying to get to where, like what they did with how they did Alonzo Mourning, where they went and got Tim Hardaway, right? And they put a sharpshooter like Vashawn Leonard around them. They just had the misfortune of running into the Bulls. That was the misfortune that they had. I feel like we build our unit around Bam and put the necessary pieces around him, and now we get some fortune. Because again, hope isn't a plan, but I tell you what is a plan. Building a unit around a franchise player, an elite defender who's a 20-10 guy. That's a plan.
Who's improving every year. Yeah, three-pointer looking real nice.
There's no reason for me to thwart this, Vinny. I can't do it, man. And I'm a big-time Jimmy Butler fan, but I can't hold on to him any longer. I can't.
For sure.
Considering what he's commanding 2 more years from what he already has.
For sure. And one last question before I get out of here, since we're talking about the whole getting off of guys early before it's too late.
Yep.
How many years are you away from getting off of Joel Embiid, or would you just line his timeline up with Paul George? I'm
out after this season. He breaks down again, I'm out. I think he's only got 3 more years at this level, to be honest with you.
Damn, chill.
If he's 30 years old, Vinny. Remember that.
Yeah, I know.
He came into the league. You just mentioned it to me. He came into the league broken. So I already bought this car broke, right? I already bought this car broke. And in the process of me buying this car broken, I fixed it. I've put new tires on it, right? I put a new muffler in it. It still breaks down. Still. How many more? And I've had this car for like the last 8 years. And it's showing signs of breaking down even more. How much longer can I hold on to this ride before it falls apart?
You're right, man. It's a business at the end of the day, man. Chill. You have a good one, man.
Good to talk to you, brother. Absolutely. All right, guys. It's about that time for me. You know what it is. It's good to see you tonight. You know where to find me. If I'm not here, I'm on the panel Monday to Friday, 11 to 2. If I'm not there, you can catch me 9 a.m. on TikTok. Good Morning NBA. We talk NBA. If I'm not there, on Tuesday nights with my man Tony Tone, we do Fluent and Chill right here on Chilltown Hoops. Or you can catch me on my live stream Monday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button and the notification will pop up and you can find me. Absolutely you can. But it was good to see you guys tonight. I will see you guys soon. But until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. Well, last time you talked to your mother, I got to call my mother. Since we're on that subject, I have to talk. I ain't talked to my mother in like a week or so. I got to call my mother. I'm telling you to talk to your mother. I got to call my mother. It was good to see you guys tonight. I will see you guys soon. But until then, take it light. Take it. Absolutely, man. It was good to see you.